Hi, good afternoon. I'm here with Chris Newton from Newton Solicitors. How you doing, Chris?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Thank you very much for coming on to the Business Spotlight series and yeah, being
Thank you
open
for having me.
to share your experience. So, as always, if you could be honest, a bit of background as to yeah, a bit more about who you are, what it is that you do, how long you've been doing it for, please, Chris.
Okay, so I'm Chris Newton. I'm the managing director of Newton's Solicitors. We are a firm of solicitors, excuse me, with 10 offices across the north of England, mainly in Yorkshire, but also Teesside and Cumbria. We employ just under 100 people. Revenue fee income is for the last few years consistently just over £6 million. So we're a nice size, nice for me
Yeah.
in terms
So you've
in
got
terms of
yeah,
coping
yeah,
with it.
sure thing. So, um, in terms of you've got a big team now, there's a few things to kind of be able to pick out and yeah, understand a little bit more from your perspective, sort of how it works. But what would you say makes you different from other people in your sector? Obviously, there's a number of people, solicitors, operators, and especially changes in the market over the last few years. What makes you guys kind of stand out?
There are a lot of good firms of solicitors out there in a highly regulated environment. What makes us different? I don't think there is anything that makes us different, but my uh, thinking is we do a very good job for our clients. We look after them, and that builds relations. And if we weren't good at what we do, we wouldn't have built this business in 15 years from scratch um, to what it is today. So we're doing something right. What makes us different? As I said, there are lots of good solicitors out there, but we try hard and we do a good job for our clients.
And behind that, would it be fair that values based is emanating from that? Obviously, from yourself as the leader of the business in terms of doing a good job. And if so,
Well,
what kind of values would be?
there are a few things that spring to mind when you say that. In terms of the solicitors that we employ, um, the test that I like to apply is, let's say a member of my family or one of my friends instructs us, and I hear that they've got so and so representing them. How do I feel about that? Am I comfortable with that? Am I happy with that? Comfortable that they'll be looked after, or am I thinking, oh crikey, can we get somebody else looking after them because that's my family, one of my friends?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if I think that, then that's my test. And if I ever think that about one of our solicitors, then they shouldn't be in our business because I want our regular clients looking after the same way that I would want my friends and my family looking after. I also want us to be fair in the way that we deal with our clients. Notably, well, an old boss of mine said to me, and it's funny how things stick. He said, if your clients are wondering what's happening, then you're not doing your job properly. So that's one thing that comes to mind. And also, in terms of charging, what I say to my team is, um, I want us to be fair on both sides. So I want to be able to look the clients in the whites of the eyes as we go through bills, which can, sometimes with solicitors get bad press and can be contentious. It's a big investment, legal services. And I want to be able to look clients in the whites of the eyes when we go through bills and say, look, this is fair. This is a charge that progressed the case. But it's got to be fair to the client, but it's also got to be fair to the business. Because we have massive overheads. We are here to make a reasonable profit. I think sometimes people are embarrassed about that, but you are in business to make a profit. This is what you're doing it for. You don't sort of choose in your spare time to get in a suit and tie and do what can be very stressful legal work. Those are the thoughts that spring to
But
mind following your.
some good shares there that comes across. And yeah, you are in business and you have to stay in business. And so, yeah, in the whites of the eyes and charging fairly is a
Yeah.
good thing. Quite often something people do struggle with, as you say, when it comes to pricing and preconceived beliefs and things like that. That
And have those conversations up front. And I
yeah,
look at it the way that I like things in my personal life. So um, I don't like nasty surprises. So
yeah,
another thing that I stress to my team is have all these conversations up front, and then whether both sides want to take the business
yeah.
relationship forward, and equally if it's on the sort of time costed billing, lots of the work is fixed fee, but if it's on time costed, you know, bill it every month,
Mhm.
and send the time summaries so the client understands, how it's being calculated. Be very transparent. And I think in my own personal life and dealings, if you get after 6 months, you get a massive bill, you look at that, oh, cracky,
Yeah,
how am I supposed to pay that? Whereas if you're getting it monthly and you're sort of nibbling away every month, you can keep a better
mhm.
control on it, and there's no nasty surprises. So that's
Yeah.
another thing that I like.
I'm getting a reflection with your clients. It's an assumption, it's never assumed, but if you're doing that with your clients, I imagine that's probably the way that you're running your business too, in terms of financial prudency and the ability to lean into what you need to know as soon as you need to know it.
Well, I when I was setting up the business, I got various bits of advice from people, and I've already said, it's amazing how some of it sticks. And one
Yeah.
of the bits of advice that I gave when I set up the business, and remember, I was sat in my loft with a laptop and a mobile phone when I started the business. Somebody said to me, "Watch the cash." And that's the cash is the lifeblood, it's the oxygen, and you can have this great business, but if you're over trading, it can all come crashing down. So what watch the cash is a big one of mine, and I keep a very keen eye on
Mhm.
finances. I hate it when excuse me, I hate it when I feel like we're going backwards, which sometimes you do seasonally. January, for example, can be a very slow time for property, which
Sure.
is a third of our business, and so there's inevitably a bit of time there where you feel like you're going backwards, and it gets me very anxious. Even though sort of March, April, it's going to kick off with a vengeance because it does every year. But it's watching the cash
Yeah.
is a good one. The other bit of advice I was given, which has stuck, is that when you're in business, the highs are higher, but the lows are lower. And
Yeah.
I found that one to be very true.
So with that in mind, what if there's one word you describe your business journey to date over those 15 years from a laptop in the loft to where you are today, what would that word be? And then feel free to expand on it.
It's been a great journey. I've really enjoyed it. That makes it sound like it's at an end. It's not at an end by any means.
Yeah,
Um,
to date.
you
It's just to
know,
date.
if I had sat down um, at the beginning with my bank manager and said, right, this is my business plan, what I'm going to achieve. I'm sat here on my own
Mhm.
with my laptop, and in 15 years, I'm going to have a regional law firm that does what I've described. I think they would have looked at me and like, yeah, right, okay, you're sort of being a bit unrealistic there, Chris, putting
Yeah.
it politely. Um, it's been a fantastic journey. I've been able to move very quickly in terms of making decisions. Yes, some of the times when it seems for a long time we just kept investing, and there were times when that was quite stressful, the amount you were investing, and there were times when you think, oh, why don't we just sort of sit back, take the foot off the
Yeah.
the pedal and just enjoy it a bit more. But we are where we are. it's been a fantastic journey, and I feel as though personally, I feel as though it's defined me. So it's very personal to me. This business. It's
That's a nice summary. Thank you for sharing
mm,
that. Did you set out in terms of goal setting that you had a 15-year plan to this point?
no, no. I and this people who go back this long with me, they would smile and look at when I started out. I spun the whole virtual law firm thing. So how does the virtual law firm end up with 10 officers? Um, and the original plan was um, uh, if I can, I work from home. If I can maybe one day build it up to 70, 80,000 a year fee income, it'll give us a nice lifestyle. And that was the original plan, believe it or not. Look,
Well,
look what happened.
changed.
Yes.
So, what was the biggest lesson, or again, to date, that you could share throughout running your business?
I used to get very anxious about the business, and I sometimes asked if I get so anxious, what on earth am I doing running a business? And there will always be issues hitting your desk. And there was a time in the early days when somebody would say, "We've got a problem," and I'd be like, "Oh no, what is it?" Whereas now it's more, and speaking with other business people and with experience, you do learn there will always be fires burning somewhere. There'll always be problems, but you can sort them out. And so the thing that I've learned, again, sort of personally with my personality in business, is don't stress too much. Try and control the stress levels. Accept that there will be problems from time to time, and just surround yourself with good people and take your time and sort it out.
Brilliant. Nice, succinct words of advice again there, but a great lesson. Sounds like it's come from experience, though.
I never used to have so much grey hair as a friend. So
Brilliant. So, in terms of inspiration, then for what you do, Chris, maybe take it from the reason why you went solo in the first place, or went out on your own to start your own business, and has that changed to this point, or is it the same plus a few more things?
um, so in the beginning, I guess I got frustrated where I was and thought, well, either do something about it or shut up. And so I did something about it. I remember going home to my wife and saying, and we had two young children, mortgage, not the best time to start a business. Um, I remember going home and saying, I fancy starting my own law firm. And Sarah said, "Do you know what you're doing?"
No.
And she supported me. And bearing in mind, the house is going on the line,
Yeah.
and so it was born out of that initial frustration of wanting to do things the way I wanted them done. I also wanted. Um, we've been looking around for a business to start, and it would make you laugh if I told you the sort of things that we looked at doing and the things I made my wife do, looking into businesses. And it never occurred to me to have law as our business because I saw that was the bread and butter,
Yeah.
and that was the backstop. Um, but then I started thinking, well, what do I know? What am I good at? Law. Well, that's the obvious one to make our business.
Sure.
And there are also one of the beauties of my job is that you deal with a lot of different clients in different businesses, and you you get inspired from what other people have achieved.
Mhm.
Just as I'm aware that, now I've moved up in age, I'm 15 years further on,
Mhm.
and the younger people will hopefully look at me and be inspired, as to what I've achieved. But when I was 15 years ago, I'd look at some of my clients and be inspired by them, and think, yeah, I want to have a go at doing that. I don't want to look back and
Sure.
regret. And you know whether you've got it in you. You know whether you've got that fire and that drive. And
Mhm.
occasionally, you meet people and you recognize it. And I met somebody recently who was leaving their job to set up their business, and I said to them, I can see a lot of me in you. Not anymore, because I wouldn't have the energy to do it again, but I could see that energy,
Yeah.
and I know that they're going to make a success of what they do.
Desire tobacco.
So it was other clients really, who inspired me. And then I remember one particular client who's still with me, and they're a good friend. They had paid for me to go down to London in a mediation to represent them, and in mediations there's a lot of sitting around, and I found myself sat. The client went up to the whiteboard and started mentoring me about my business, and saying, how do you make your money as a lawyer, because you've only got so many hours to sell. And he said, you've got to employ other lawyers, and you've got to expand the business. It can't just be you on your own. And I blame him for what's happened. He won't accept responsibility, but he is responsible. He knows who he is.
Multiplying you.
Yes.
And so is it the same thing that you today that you get inspiration for? Has it changed over the time? Is it passing it on to other people?
Now it is passing it on to other people. So the business did get bigger than it is. I think we were up to maybe 13 officers and 120 people. And I did start to feel as though I was losing touch. And for me, it felt too big. And we shrunk down, really just prior to, out of caution, prior to Brexit, when a recession was feared, and then during COVID, any officers that were in the development stage that were
Yeah.
making a loss, we shut them down. And I do, and so this is this well, it's not quite the size we were. I do say to people, the team, and they do laugh at me. I say, right, I'm happy with where it is. I don't want to grow it anymore. And then someone comes along with a bright idea of opening an office in Penrith. I think
Let's go for it.
actually that's a good idea. Let's have an
Yeah.
office in Penrith. So that was our latest office. So I keep saying that I'm happy with it the size it is, but then things like Penrith happen. So who knows?
That's it. Until you're tested with a question, a great idea, or an opportunity, then never
Yeah.
say never.
Yes. Yes.
Good stuff. So, in terms of advice, sort of last question really, before we kind of summarize it up. Advice of someone starting out in business. You've been offered a fair bit of advice over the years. What would you give someone who asked that question?
The Some of the comments that I've made so far rang very true with me. So I would pass on that advice. Watch the cash. Highs are higher, lows are lower. Be ready for it.
Yeah.
And there will always be problems. Don't get too stressed about it. Just deal with it. What other bits of advice would I give? Looking back, uh, setting up and growing the business took an incredible amount of energy. So you've got to be able to give that energy, to create something and keep it going. I look back at the arguments whilst we were on holiday, because I was there by the pool taking the phone calls or working, and also you look back. My children are 26, 27. I'll get in trouble now because I know they'll be the wrong ages. Um, and you look back and you think, crikey, did I work too much when they were little? And there are sacrifices. So you've got to be prepared to do that. And if it was easy, more people would do it. It's not easy. You've got to be willing to give that energy and give that commitment.
Sure. So you have a finite amount of energy, and where are you going to focus it? And there has
Yeah,
to be a sacrifice at some level in order to
yeah.
create something else. So
I
great
could, I
advice.
could, I couldn't do it again. It's exhausting.
Well, you've done it once, so that's a great achievement. So
Yeah,
I
that's
appreciate you sharing all that you have, and being really open with your story of the last 15 years. So in terms of latest news about what Newtons are up to, or even in this case of sharing your website, so people who may want to get in touch can do so, feel free to do that now.
Oh, the latest news has to be our latest acquisition, and you will remember me saying just now that I don't want to grow anymore. There was this office came on the market right in the middle of Harrogate, and it is across the road from Betty's, just up Cambridge
Nice.
Crescent. I think you've got Nat West and Cafe Nero, and
Yeah.
then there's us. There is this beautiful period building that we've bought, and we're going to make a flagship office.
Yeah.
I said to my practice manager as we were going around, I said, I'm going to be cursing you with the amount of money we're going to have to invest in this, because it's unfortunately it's derelict inside, but it is a beautiful building and it's right in the middle of Harrogate. So that's our latest news, and we've just completed. It was a lot of hard work, partly because of the condition of the building to get that purchase completed, but we got there. And so I think it's maybe an 18-month, 2-year project to restore that to a beautiful building, and that
Yeah.
will be Newton's flagship office in
Excellent.
Harrogate.
Congratulations on that, and we look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing that in the centre of Harrogate. Well, Chris, it's been a real pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
I've
sharing all
enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
the good stuff. All the best with the business.
Thank you.